Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're taking a plunge into something really essential, something we use constantly, but maybe don't think about too much, water in our homes.
Right. It's everywhere, yet sort of invisible.
Exactly. We pulled our notes from episode 10, water and wastewater, to really, explore this, the journey it takes, the systems. It's fascinating stuff.
It really is. I mean, think about it. You turn a tap, water comes out, flush a toilet, waste goes away.
Seems so simple. Automatic, almost.
But behind that convenience, wow,
Yeah.
there's incredible engineering, there are deep cultural ties, even some interesting psychology.
So that's our mission today, right? Unpack that story, find those surprising bits.
Yeah, those aha moments. And hopefully do it in a way that doesn't feel like, drinking from a fire hose of information.
Okay, let's start with the journey in.
Yeah.
Water coming to our homes. It's not just rain straight into the pipes, is it?
Definitely not. No. Our sources remind us it starts, well, at a source. Could be rivers, lakes, reservoirs.
Or underground, aquifer.
Exactly. Groundwater aquifers. And sometimes that water travels a heck of a long way. Think like the Colorado River supplying Los Angeles.
That scale is just mind-boggling.
It is. It's this massive human-made water cycle we've built. Capturing it, cleaning it, moving it, often hundreds of miles.
And the cleaning part, the treatment, what does that involve typically?
Well, it's pretty thorough. First, filtration, getting rid of sand, dirt, bigger particles, the obvious stuff.
Okay.
Then comes disinfection. That's key. Usually using chlorine or sometimes UV light, kills off bacteria, viruses, anything harmful.
Right, the invisible threats.
Precisely. And then there's rigorous testing, checking for pathogens, but also metals like lead, other contaminants. Got to make sure it's safe before it even heads towards town.
And it doesn't just flow straight to my house from the plant, right? There's storage involved. I always see those water towers.
Yes. Water towers. They're not just landmarks. They're actually critical. They use gravity. Simple as that. Elevating the water creates pressure in the pipes down below. That's what pushes it through the network to your home.
So that's the pressure we feel at the tap.
That's a big part of it. But towers do more. They're also emergency storage, think fires, power outages.
Okay, that makes sense. A reserve.
And they help balance demand. Morning rush, everyone's showering. The tower helps keep the pressure steady.
So the water's basically just waiting under pressure. That's why it feels on demand.
Pretty much, yeah. It's ready to go the moment you open the faucet.
But sometimes that pressure can be too high for home plumbing.
It can, yeah. Especially if you live downhill from the tower or pump station. That's where pressure-reducing valves come in. PRVs.
I think I've seen one of those near the meter.
Probably. They're vital. They knock the pressure down to a safe level for your pipes, your washing machine, your dishwasher. Protects everything.
Another one of those invisible bits of engineering keeping things running smoothly.
Exactly. So much infrastructure we just don't see but rely on completely.
Okay, let's shift to another bit of home magic. Hot water. Taking a hot shower. Our notes called it a triumph of engineering. I like that.
It really is. Think about it. Reliable hot water whenever you want it. Mostly, that comes down to the water heater.
But the big tank kind.
That's the most common one, yeah. The storage tank heater. It uses electric coils or maybe a gas burner to heat the water inside and keep it hot, usually around, say, 120 to 140 Fahrenheit.
Ready to go.
Ready to go. Then you've got the tankless ones, on-demand heaters.
Those heat it instantly.
Yeah, as the water flows through. No storage tank. They heat it super fast with a powerful burner or element.
Or more efficient, maybe.
Can be, yeah, because you're not keeping a big tank hot all the time. But sometimes they have limits on how much hot water they can produce at once, flow rate limits.
So maybe not great if the whole family wants showers at the same time.
Could be an issue, yeah. Depends on the unit size.
Yeah.
And then there's the third type gaining traction, heat pump water heaters.
Okay, how do they work? Sounds different.
Totally different. Instead of making heat, they move heat, like a fridge working in reverse.
Yeah.
They pull heat out of the surrounding air and transfer it into the water in the tank.
Yeah.
Super energy efficient because moving heat takes less energy than creating it.
But maybe slower to heat up.
Generally, yes. They take a bit longer to recover after you use a lot of hot water. So pros and cons for each type. But yeah, that hot shower, definitely an engineering feat.
Okay, so water comes in, gets heated, we use it,
Yeah.
and then it's got to go somewhere, down the drain.
Right. And that's where we start talking about wastewater. And there's a key distinction here. Gray water versus black water.
Okay, break that down.
Sure. Gray water is the wastewater from, say, your bathroom sink, your shower, your washing machine. It's used, it might have soap or dirt, but it's generally less contaminated.
And blackwater.
That's the nasty stuff. Primarily from toilets, but also sometimes kitchen sinks, especially with garbage disposals. It has human waste, food particles. Much higher pathogen load. Needs serious treatment.
Got it. And how does this wastewater leave the house? Mostly just flows downhill?
In most cases, yeah. Gravity is the main driver. Pipes are sloped slightly, so everything flows downwards towards the main sewer line in the street.
But what if you live in a really flat area? Or downhill from the sewer main?
Good question. Then gravity isn't enough. You need lift stations. Or sewer pump stations. Same thing.
Pumps for sewage.
Yep. Powerful pumps kick in and push the wastewater uphill through pressurized pipes. They call those force mains.
Force mains, okay. So it gets forced along until it can flow by gravity again.
Exactly. It overcomes the low point, so it's not always a gentle ride downhill for your waste.
Uh-huh. Okay, so eventually, whether by gravity or force, it gets to the wastewater treatment plant. And this is where the real cleanup happens. Our notes called it a quiet microbial ballet. Sounds nice.
It's actually a really fitting description. It's an amazing biological process, but first some mechanical steps. Preliminary treatment, basically screening, removing the big stuff, rags, sticks, plastics, grit, sand, things that could clog up the system later.
Okay, makes sense. Get the junk out.
Then comes primary treatment. The water flows into big tanks really slowly, allows the heavier solids, the sludge, to settle down to the bottom, and lighter stuff like grease floats to the top.
Skim the top, scrape the bottom.
Pretty much. Then comes the star of the show, secondary treatment. This is the biological part, the microbial ballet.
So microbes eating the waste.
Basically, yes.
Yeah.
They introduce lots of oxygen and helpful bacteria, protozoa, other microorganisms. These guys feast on the dissolved organic matter, the stuff that makes sewage. Well, sewage? They break it down.
Wow. Nature's recyclers. Hard at work.
Absolutely. It's incredibly effective. And finally, there's often tertiary treatment, an extra polishing step.
Like what?
Could be advanced filtration, maybe removing specific nutrients like nitrogen or phosphorus, which can cause problems in rivers, and then a final disinfection. Chlorine again, or UV, sometimes ozone, just to kill off any remaining pathogens.
So by the end, it's clean water.
It's clean, yes. But how clean and what we call it depends on the level of treatment and its intended use.
Ah, okay. So there are different types of water after treatment.
Definitely. You've got potable water that's drinking water quality, safe for everything.
Right. What we get from the tap.
Oh, hopefully. Then there's gray water, which, as we said, comes from sinks and showers. If you treat it a bit and have separate plumbing, maybe use it for flushing toilets or irrigation.
Okay. What else?
Reclaimed water. This is treated wastewater, usually up to tertiary level, but maybe not quite drinking water standard. Great for irrigating parks, golf courses, industrial cooling, sometimes toilet flushing in buildings with dual plumbing. Saves potable water.
Smart.
Yeah.
Using the right water for the right job.
Exactly. Then there's stormwater rain runoff. Often untreated, goes into separate drains, or sometimes, unfortunately, mixes with sewage and older combined systems, which can cause overflows.
Right, I've heard about those issues.
And finally, there's disposed water. That's the treated wastewater, the effluent, that's released back into a river or the ocean. It's clean enough not to harm the environment, but it's monitored.
It's quite a spectrum of water types, isn't it? Not just clean or dirty.
Not at all. And this brings us into a really interesting area, how we feel about water, its meaning beyond just, H2O.
The psychology and culture.
Yeah, it's powerful. Clean water often signals comfort, safety, control. Right.
Definitely.
And dirty water, disgust, maybe shame, even danger. Think about the fear during cholera outbreaks or the anger and mistrust in Flint over contaminated water.
Absolutely. And that ties into the yuck factor with reclaimed water you mentioned.
It does. Intellectually, we might know it's safe after treatment, but there's often this visceral psychological barrier to, say, drinking it, even though in some places, indirectly, that's already happening.
Culturally, too, water's just huge, isn't it? Rituals, traditions.
Oh, absolutely central. Think baptism in Christianity. Wudu in Islam before prayer, bathing in the Ganges for Hindus, the mikveh in Judaism. Water as purification, renewal, transition. It's everywhere.
Even just washing hands can feel significant sometimes.
Right. A small ritual of cleansing or marking a change.
And the idea of water holding memory, that's fascinating.
It is. Scientifically, water can hold chemical traces, sure, but culturally, Rivers carve landscapes and histories. People remember floods, droughts, ancestral wells hold meaning.
And some indigenous cultures view water as more than a resource.
Very much so. As a relative, a living entity, a storyteller. The Wanganui River in New Zealand getting legal personhood is a powerful example of that perspective. Water as a witness.
Well, and personally, water affects our mental state too, doesn't it?
Hugely. The sound of rain or a stream can be incredibly calming, like natural white noise.
True.
And showers, baths, where there are often places for thinking, right? Those shower thoughts. Or just unwinding, releasing stress. A private space.
A little sanctuary?
Yeah. For some people, maybe neurodivergent individuals, water can be really important for sensory regulation too, though sometimes overwhelming. It can be a therapist, a space for grief, a spark for ideas.
But there's a flip side too, right? Hygiene,
Yeah.
washing, can get tied up with social judgment, shame.
It absolutely can. Access to clean water and sanitation is a right, but how we practice hygiene can be judged. Think about scolding kids for wasting water, or the awful situation of denying basic facilities to homeless people.
Yeah.
There's often this cultural, almost moral weight put on cleanliness. And when water access is unequal, it exposes those deeper societal biases and neglect.
Which really highlights why the science and sustainability side is so critical. Because water isn't guaranteed.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Climate change is hitting hard, more droughts, more intense storms disrupting systems. Cities are growing, putting more strain on supplies. We're draining aquifers faster than they refill.
And conflicts over water?
Sadly, yes. Geopolitical tensions. Look at the disputes around the Colorado River Compact or the Nile River. Water rights are becoming a major flashpoint.
And the inequality. Flint, the Navajo Nation.
Stark examples. And water privatization sometimes makes things worse, putting profit over access. Our notes put it starkly. Who controls the tap, controls the terms of life and dignity.
Powerful. So what's being done? What are the innovations?
Well, there's ongoing work in desalination, getting salt out of seawater. Still very energy intensive, though, and can have environmental impacts, like what to do with the leftover brine.
Right, not a silver bullet.
No. But smart water meters are helping. They track usage better, help find leaks faster. Big savings potential there.
And green infrastructure, what's that?
Things like rain gardens, permeable pavements that let rain soak through, bioswales. Basically using natural systems within cities to manage stormwater, reduce runoff, recharge groundwater. It's about working with the water cycle.
Integrating nature back into our water management.
Exactly. Some are saying the next big revolution won't be energy, it'll be water. How we manage and value it.
It's also easy to forget the infrastructure we don't see. The sewers, the stormwater drains.
Totally invisible to most people most of the time, until something goes wrong, like a basement backup or a combined sewer overflow polluting a river after heavy rain.
Right. Out of sight, out of mind.
But it's all connected. What happens on the street in our yards affects those systems. Green roofs, rain barrels, they're not just nice ideas, they actually help manage that flow. Your backyard might literally be in the same watershed as your bathtub drain.
That connection is key.
Yeah.
Looking ahead, are there even more futuristic ideas being tested?
Oh, yeah. Some really cool stuff. Atmospheric water generators, AWGs, basically pulling drinkable water right out of the air's humidity.
Wow, like dehumidifiers on steroids?
Kind of, yeah. Then there are concepts for blackwater recycling within a building or home. Treating everything, even toilet waste, on site for reuse, creating a closed loop.
Truly recycling everything.
That's the goal for some systems. Also, living machines using constructed wetlands and other ecosystems to treat wastewater naturally. And even things like urine separating toilets, being tested to capture nutrients and reduce pollution.
The home of the future might be much smarter about its water.
Could have water intelligence, absolutely. Monitoring, reusing, minimizing waste.
This whole journey, from source to tap, treatment to reuse, it gets pretty deep. Our notes mention Gaston Bachelard, the philosopher.
Yes, his idea of water as evoking dreams, depth, inner peace, it taps into something fundamental in us.
That sense of flow, connection.
Exactly. Water connects places, connects times. The water molecule in your glass could have been in an ancient ocean, a dinosaur's tear, who knows? It's the universal solvent, chemically but also metaphorically, right?
How so?
It represents change, emotion, purification, the unconscious mind. It teaches us about letting go, about constant movement, about cleansing that happens unseen.
And artists use it all the time, don't they?
Constantly. For impermanence, tension, memory, life, death. Think about water in films or books. It often signals a turning point, danger, transformation. The Back House in Spirited Away is a great example you mentioned, cleansing spirits, crossing boundaries.
So water flows through pipes, yes, but also through stories, through art, through our psyche.
Beautifully put, it really does.
This has been really eye-opening.
Yeah.
And it leaves us with some questions to ponder, right, from our source material.
Yeah, good ones for everyone listening to maybe reflect on. Like, do you actually know where your water comes from and where it goes after you use it?
When's the last time you really felt grateful for hot water just being there?
Or what emotions do you connect with water? Relaxation? Fear, maybe?
Well,
Renewal?
that reclaimed water question is interesting, too. Would you drink it if you knew scientifically it was perfectly safe? Why or why not?
And maybe think about scarcity. If water became much harder to get where you live, how might your daily habits actually change?
Lots to think about there. And I think the main takeaway, as our notes suggest, is that water is not just a service, it's a relationship.
That sums it up perfectly. It flows through our home, sure, but also through history, memory, our minds. Understanding water means understanding connection, renewal,
Sure.
fragility, too,
Hmm.
and that essential flow.
So the final question isn't just how does water work in the home, is it?
No, it's bigger. It's how does water shape the way we live at all?
A huge thank you for joining us on this deep dive today. We really hope listeners keep thinking about their own connection to water. Maybe check out your local water system or explore its cultural meaning in your own life.